Let's kick off with the Wednesday's Times and the woman with the cheap wig who brought down the SNP. And Leo, I'm not talking about Nicola Sturgeon.
Do you really think Nicola Sturgeon wore a wig? I mean, what would you ask her? I want to look like my head's unravelling. Anyway, transgender rapist...
Thank you, Roger, for laughing.
Transgender rapist, that's what happens when your head finally unravels. But transgender rapist Isla Bryson sentenced to 8 years in prison. So this is Isla Bryson. Well, it was a man, Adam Graham, who raped 2 women, and while he was in the process, while he was in the court process, decided he was actually a transgender woman. Because in Scotland, if you say you're a woman, even if you're a man, you get sent to a women's prison.
Click your heels 3 times.
You don't even need to do that. It's literally just a magic spell. You just say, I am a woman, and you magically become a woman in the eyes of the law. Because Scotland passed this gender reform bill that made it easier for people to transition. It meant that people could transition at a younger age and without, being verified by a medical panel and living as a woman and convincing a doctor.
And you only have to live, is it for 3 months now, is that right? Rather than 2 years in your chosen gender.
Yeah. So very easy to just identify...
when it's convenient.
When it's convenient, such as when you're a double rapist and you want to go to a women's prison for obvious nefarious reasons. And when the gender reform bill was being debated, this was raised. They said, this could cause these issues. And we were told, no, you're being ridiculous, transphobic bigots. This would never happen. Obviously, it immediately happened. This isn't the only case of this happening. And it brought down Nicola Sturgeon because Isla Bryson was originally sent to a female prison, then sent to a male prison when there was an outcry. But Nicola Sturgeon, under her ideology, under her own law, if somebody says they're a woman, they're definitely a woman. So it's like, why do you send women to a male prison?
And she couldn't ever at any point define whether Isla Bryson was indeed a woman or a man, and she was constantly pestered, of course, quite rightly, by every journalist in every interview because she couldn't come up with a straight, logical answer.
Individual was the first line that they all refer, and then they refer to the rapist.
The rapist, that's right, which is a new gender.
Yeah, it's not gender. If anything, it's a sexuality. But
well, in Scottish law, of course, you have to be male, technically, to be a rapist.
Right.
But, I mean, it's interesting to see how all the newspapers are reporting as Isla Bryson, as opposed to their real name, really, which is, Adam. So people are going along with this thing as to this person's identity or not, including, and of course, in the court of law, where one of the victims had to refer to her penis.
Yeah. But I think this will bring down the gender ideology because it exposes the ridiculousness of it. I mean, if Adam Graham can say, I'm a woman, and then everybody's got to pretend that he's a woman.
Including our newspapers.
Including all the newspapers. I mean, that is a massive insult to genuine transgender women who put the effort in and look like women and, don't go about committing crimes. So I think the fact that predatory men can just nefariously identify as women, that's going to bring down this gender ideology, and it's going to go back to the way it was, where it was, if you want to transition, you can, but if you want to be recognised as a woman, you can, but you've got to put some effort in and you've got to really mean it.
And how will he be housed by the Scottish prison system now? Well,
I'm guessing within another secure unit, maybe for people who identify as trans, but in the male estate.
Yeah.
And where they're not, biological women aren't around them.
And there are 4 or 5, apparently, in the Scottish prison system who are identifying as women.
There's one thing I want to say before we move on from this story, Roger, is this person got 8 years for raping 2 women. That seems like an incredibly short sentence for such a heinous crime. And I think getting lost within this whole gender identity shtick, or whatever's going on north of the border, it seems like a very short period of time for someone to serve. Do you agree? Do you think they should be longer sentences?
I always hesitate to offer up anything on sentencing when I am less qualified than the judge and indeed less au fait with the details of the case than the judge. So I trust the system rather than my own tabloid instinct to say you should lock him up for life. Yeah. Although I don't doubt he is undoubtedly a threat, still remains a threat, and probably will be a threat when he's released.
Fine.